There's a kind of prison that no one warns you about. No bars, no guards, no doors to open, but it locks tighter than steel, and most people don't even know they're inside. It's the prison of overthinking. You wake up and the interrogation begins. Did I say too much? Did I do enough? What if I messed it all up? The questions swarm, the silence gets louder, and your mind becomes a courtroom where you're the defendant, the accuser, and the judge, all at once. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, once reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." If an emperor had to write that to himself, what does that say about us? Because this isn't about being too smart or too sensitive. Overthinking isn't clarity. It's fear in disguise, this moment. But here's the good news. The Stoics didn't just study the mind, they mastered tools to set it free. And today, we hand you 6 of those tools, tested over 2,000 years through war, collapse, and recovery. Not just to calm your mind, but to change how you relate to it forever. Welcome to Stoic Philosophy Daily, where your story matters. Share your experience or your biggest mental block below. Every comment you leave is a gift. Here, your voice matters. We read with care, answer with heart, and treat your journey as part of our own. This is more than a channel, it's a circle of strength. If you're ready to stop surviving your thoughts and start mastering them, type it below. I choose freedom, and stay with us. Every second of this video is designed to unlock a part of you that's been waiting. 1. Your mind is a storyteller, not a judge. Your mind is not a courtroom, it's a theater. And the problem is you've been confusing the script for reality. Every thought, every fear, every assumption is a scene your mind writes, directs, and performs, all without your permission. And because it feels vivid, emotional, and real, you forget one thing: it's fiction. Epictetus said it clearly: we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most people never pause long enough to notice that their suffering isn't coming from the world. It's coming from the story their mind is telling about the world. This pattern has deep evolutionary roots. Your brain was built to predict danger, not to discover truth. Assuming the worst once kept you alive, even if it made you miserable. So now a missed text becomes a crisis. Silence becomes judgment. A small shift becomes a catastrophe. Like a fire alarm that screams at burnt toast instead of real fire, your system overreacts. Not to hurt you, to protect you from pain that may not even exist. Someone leaves your message on read, and instantly your mind launches a full screenplay. Rejection, abandonment, proof you're unlovable. Your body reacts as if it's real. Heart racing, stomach tight, breathe shallow. The nervous system can't tell the difference between real danger and imagined threat. And the mind fills in the blanks with fear, like a horror director insisting on shooting new scenes even when the set is quiet. Overthinking always begins the same way. Your mind hands you a horror script and calls it a documentary. You don't question it because the emotion feels real. But feelings aren't facts. Pain isn't proof. Thoughts are guesses, not gospel. The Stoics understood this. Events are neutral. A lost job is a change in status. Criticism is sound waves. What turns them into suffering is the meaning you assign to them. Freedom doesn't come from controlling the world. It comes from questioning the narrator inside your head. Try this. When your mind spins a dramatic interpretation, pause and ask, what do I know for sure? Say it out loud. Separate fact from fiction. The moment you name the story as a story, its grip weakens. Ask yourself, would I still believe this if I weren't afraid? What would a calmer version of me see here? At Stoic Daily, we believe most suffering is optional because it is mostly imagined. Drop in the comments. I'm not my thoughts, I'm the one who questions them. What's one story your mind keeps repeating that you're ready to rewrite? 2. Return to sensation, not simulation. Overthinking is time travel. It hurls you backward into regret or launches you forward into imaginary disasters while your body is still here in this moment, waiting for you to come back. That's the trap. Your mind simulates, but your body anchors. And every time you ignore that anchor, you drift further into fiction. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Confine yourself to the present," not as poetry, but as survival advice. Because presence is the antidote to mental chaos. When your thoughts spiral, your body doesn't follow. It remains quiet, honest, and real. All you have to do is return to it. Psychologically, here's what's happening. The mind fears what it can't control, so it projects. It scans unfinished business in the past or imagined danger in the future. That's why overthinkers are rarely grounded. They're always living inside timelines that don't exist. Meanwhile, your nervous system follows whatever you believe. Even imagined threats trigger real responses. Tight chest, racing pulse, shallow breath. Your body thinks it's running from a lion when in reality, it's running from a thought. Pause. Feel the weight of your body. Notice the texture of what you're touching. Listen to the smallest background sound. Your heartbeat, your breath, the friction of fabric against your skin. These are not ideas, they are facts. And facts pull you out of false stories. Try this. When your mind starts spinning about the message you haven't received or the outcome you can't control, do something different. Name 5 things you can see, 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. Imagine dragging your attention like a rope back to the shore of now. Then ask yourself one question. What in this moment is actually wrong? Most of the time, the answer is nothing. The suffering was in the simulation, not the sensation. The Stoics practiced continual attention to the present, not because they were naive, but because they understood a radical truth. You cannot suffer from a future that hasn't happened unless you rehearse it mentally. And you cannot be destroyed by the past unless you replay it on loop. Sensation breaks that loop. Reality, unfiltered, is rarely as cruel as the stories we tell about it. And your body, your breath, your pulse, your feet on the floor is the doorway back to what's real. Return to it often. Let it become your compass. Let it pull you back every time the mind tries to escape into the phantom zones of what if. At Stoic Daily, we believe presence is not passive. It's practiced power. Drop in the comments, I choose presence over projection. What's one grounding habit that brings you back when your mind starts to wander? 3. Make peace with uncertainty. Your mind is addicted to certainty. It wants guarantees before it moves, promises before it risks, clarity before it lives. But life has never signed that contract. The more you demand certainty from an uncertain universe, the more anxious you become. Overthinking is control wearing a thinking mask. It whispers, if I analyze this enough, I'll be safe. But safety was never hiding inside another thought. Seneca wrote, the whole future lies in uncertainty. Live immediately, not as recklessness, but as truth. Because uncertainty isn't a glitch in life's system, it is the system. Every outcome you ever feared either never happened or happened differently than you imagined. Your mind has a long history of false prophecies, yet you still treat its predictions as fate rather than fear. Psychologically, this is your brain trying to reduce threat by forecasting danger. But forecasting isn't control. It's imagination with anxiety attached. You think you're preparing, but you're actually rehearsing loss. That's why overthinking feels heavy. Your body is grieving futures that don't exist. You suffer not from events, but from imagined endings that may never arrive. The Stoics practiced premeditatio malorum, but not as a panic rehearsal. They calmly acknowledged, loss may come, pain may come, rejection may come. Then they asked one question: if it does, can I handle it? And history, and your own life, already answered yes. You've survived 100% of your worst days. You've endured what you once believed would break you. Your resilience record is perfect, even if your memory forgets. Uncertainty is not the enemy, it's the doorway to courage. Without uncertainty, there's no bravery, no growth, no discovery. The same unknown that scares you is the space where your strength is forged. When you stop trying to eliminate uncertainty, you stop eliminating your own life. Try this. The next time you catch yourself spiraling over what if, stop and ask, am I preparing or am I just trying to feel in control? Then ask, if the worst reasonable outcome happened, what would I actually do next? Notice how your mind shifts from panic to problem solving, from helplessness to agency. Uncertainty shrinks the moment you face it, directly instead of negotiating with it. At Stoic Daily, we believe peace begins where control ends. Drop in the comments, I release the need for certainty. What opportunity are you delaying because you're waiting to feel 100% sure? 4. Solve problems, accept predicaments. Your mind was built to fix things. That's its job. The problem is, it tries to fix everything, even the parts of life that were never problems to begin with. And this is where your exhaustion is born. You're using problem-solving energy on realities that don't need solutions. They need acceptance. Epictetus taught a distinction that can dismantle most overthinking in a single stroke. Is this within my control or not? A problem is something that can be acted on. Your health habits, your skill level, a conversation you need to have. These respond to effort. Your mind is useful here. It can plan, adjust, and execute. A predicament is different. A plight is a fact of reality that thought cannot move. Someone does not love you. The past already happened. People will have opinions. Time moves forward, not backward. These are not puzzles waiting for the right idea. They are walls, and you're exhausting yourself trying to open doors that don't exist. Psychologically, this happens because acceptance feels like a loss of control. So the mind keeps spinning to avoid the feeling of helplessness. It would rather struggle than surrender. But this struggle is like trying to push back the tide with your hands. The harder you try, the more powerless you feel. Overthinking is often just resistance to emotional pain disguised as analysis. Notice your patterns. You replay a past mistake, hoping better thinking will rewrite history. You obsess over someone's opinion, believing more mental rehearsal will influence their mind. You worry about future outcomes, as if worry itself is action. But none of this changes reality. It only drains you. But try this. When you feel the spiral begin, pause and ask, is this a problem or a predicament? If action can change it, take one concrete step immediately. Send the message. Do the task, learn the skill. If action cannot change it, practice release. Breathe. Say, this is outside my control, and I allow it to be as it is. Notice the tension drop when your mind stops fighting gravity. Freedom begins when energy stops leaking into the uncontrollable. The Stoics focused only on what belonged to them: thoughts, choices, responses, actions. Everything else, other people's feelings, the past, the future, they acknowledged and released. At Stoic Daily, we believe clarity is knowing what to act on and what to let go. Drop in the comments. I act where I can. I accept what I can't. What are you trying to solve right now that actually needs acceptance? 5. Overthinking is avoidance in disguise. Overthinking feels responsible. It feels careful, intelligent, thorough. You tell yourself you're working through it. But look closer. Most of the time, you're not moving forward. You're circling the runway, burning fuel, never landing. Overthinking often isn't an effort. It's an escape from wearing the mask of effort. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And nowhere is that clearer than here. Your mind has learned a clever trick. If it keeps you busy thinking about acting, you never have to face the discomfort of actually acting. Thinking feels safe. Action feels exposed. Notice the pattern. That difficult conversation, you've rehearsed it in your head hundreds of times. Perfect lines, perfect timing, perfect responses, but you still haven't said the words. The thinking protected you from the vulnerability of being real. That project you want to start? You've researched, compared, and refined the idea endlessly, but nothing exists yet. Overthinking shielded you from the risk of imperfection. Psychologically, this is fear seeking control. Your nervous system senses potential rejection, failure, or loss, and your mind responds by stalling in analysis. It would rather exhaust you mentally than risk emotional pain, so it builds a loop where thinking feels like progress, even though nothing changes outside your head. You feel busy, even productive, but you're on a mental treadmill. Maximum effort, zero movement. The Stoics didn't think to avoid life. They thought to prepare for action. Marcus Aurelius reflected so he could govern better, not so he could hide from responsibility. So philosophy was a sharpening stone, not a hiding place. Try this. The next time you notice yourself replaying the same issue, ask, what small action would move this forward by even 1%? Then do it within 5 minutes. Send the message. Write the first messy paragraph. Schedule the conversation. Notice the psychological shift. Anxiety drops when movement begins. Clarity follows action, not the other way around. Yes, action risks embarrassment. Yes, you might be misunderstood. Yes, it might not go perfectly. But imperfection in reality moves your life forward. Perfection in your head keeps you frozen. Your overthinking mind calls this preparation. But often it's the fear of asking for more time. At Stoic Daily, we believe clarity is earned through action, not endless reflection. Comment below, I act even when I'm unsure. What is one thing you've been overthinking that you could take one small step on today? 6. Strength comes from facing what you avoid. Your overthinking feeds on one quiet belief. I can't handle this. That discomfort will break you. That rejection will crush you. That failure will define you. So your mind tries to protect you the only way it knows how, by keeping you in thought instead of in life. It spins, analyzes, rehearses, calculates, all to keep you away from the feelings you're convinced are too much to bear. But what if the danger isn't the discomfort? What if the threat is never testing your strength at all? The Stoics practiced voluntary discomfort not to suffer, but to discover truth. Marcus Aurelius could have chosen luxury, yet he chose simplicity. Seneca lived periods as if he had nothing, not as punishment but as training. They were teaching their minds a message. I can survive less. I can survive difficulty. I am not fragile. Psychologically, overthinking grows in the absence of evidence. Your mind predicts catastrophe because it has no lived proof that you can endure it. So it keeps you in simulation, safe, untested, small. But the moment you step into discomfort voluntarily, the illusion cracks. Anxiety felt directly loses half its power. Rejection experienced becomes information, not identity. Failure lived through becomes experience, not doom. Start small. Do the thing you've been mentally circling. Send the message before you've perfected it. Have the conversation even if your voice shakes. Decide without mapping every possible outcome. Let yourself enter situations where control is limited, then observe. The anticipation was louder than the event. The fear screamed, Reality spoke softly and you remained standing. This is how resilience is built. Not by thinking about storms, but by walking in the rain and realizing you don't dissolve. Each time you face discomfort instead of detouring around it, you teach your nervous system a new lesson. This is survivable. Over time, the mind stops sounding false alarms because you've proven you are capable. Courage is not born from analysis. It's born from exposure, from doing the thing while still afraid, from acting while uncertain, from moving before confidence arrives. Every step into voluntary discomfort shrinks overthinking's territory and expands your freedom. At Stoic Daily, we believe strength is discovered, not imagined. Comment below, I can handle more than my fear tells me. What discomfort have you been avoiding that might actually be your next growth point? The way out is through. The opposite of overthinking is not silence, it's presence, it's clarity. It's the ability to sit inside uncertainty without trying to escape it. The Stoics didn't teach us to erase fear, but to walk through it. They didn't promise a calm life, but a courageous one. You've learned that some thoughts must be challenged, some feelings must be faced, some storms must be entered, not avoided. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Overthinking has been your wall. Let it now be your doorway. Every principle you just heard isn't just a lesson, it's a key. Use them, one reflection, one breath, one brave action at a time. At Stoic Philosophy Daily, we believe the chains of overthinking aren't broken by thinking harder, but by living deeper. Drop a comment. I'm ready to walk through the storm. Let us know which idea struck you the hardest. Send this to someone who needs to hear they are not their thoughts. And subscribe, because this is only the beginning. You're not trapped anymore. You're walking out.
If you're seeking more, discover the full path on my channel.